Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you received from God? You are not your own. You are bought with a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. This truth is found in the Bible in 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. Temptation is a convincing thing, and our emotions get toyed with, and it triggers things like self-harm. People begin to practice things like self-harm because these temptations are convincing and our emotions do get toyed with. But self-harm is increasing rapidly. It can and it should be stopped. People have the choice to turn away from self-harm and the temptations that come with it, or they can receive help and overcome that binding habit. In this speech, we're going to talk about statistics of self-harm, reasons why people practice it, and solutions to this serious problem. Self-harm is an addictive habit, and it's radically affecting people, but like I said earlier, it can dissipate. There are some astounding statistics that come with self-harm. Two in particular that we're going to talk about today are eating disorders and cutting. Just in the United States, 10 million females and 1 million males struggle with some kind of eating disorder. 40% of these eating disorders are anorexia in girls ages 15 to 19. When it comes to cutting, 62.6% of all people who cut are considered adolescents, and 28 to 41% of these people have contemplated suicide at least one time in their life. So we have to ask the question, why do people practice self-harm? There are some internal and external factors that cause this. Some of these things are life experiences like sexual or physical abuse, neglect, or separation loss from maybe a particular family member or a friend. But there's also some missing factors as well. And these missing factors are an inability to practice and express their emotions, and they begin to feel pain and insecurity as well. Leicester Mercury said it this way. He said, people who self-harm don't always kill themselves. Their behavior can be because they want to escape an unbearable situation or are in a great emotional pain. They have an inability to receive some kind of love. Maybe they feel unworthy, or they feel like nobody is actually giving that to them, and so they feel like their way to deal with that is to express the way that they feel by physically hurting themselves. So there are some solutions to this serious issue, but it has to be known that these things often go unnoticed until it's too late. But they still can be fixed, and they still can be saved even if they have begun to practice these things. These people often need help, and because of the help of several sources, I have learned that people often don't go and seek help themselves. They need someone to kind of take them to those places and get the help that they need. I think all people need to be aware of self-harm because they will most likely meet someone who is struggling with it or potentially struggle with it themselves. So some signs to be aware of what this might look like. In one person's life, they might begin to see some physical signs, maybe some internal emotions or internal thoughts, or they could experience some physical changes, maybe dilation in pupils, some physical things like actual cuts or weight loss. But they might also notice a change in their daily routines. They might notice that they've been in seclusion and in the lack of community, or they just may be feeling down and discouraged more often than normal. Some signs that you might notice in somebody else would be an attitude change. They might begin to seem withdrawn, or their response when you ask them how they're doing is just simply fine. And again, you might begin to notice their external changes in their physical appearance as well. Again, noticing cuts that are following a certain pattern, or bruising, or again, weight loss. So how can this issue be stopped? It can be stopped after it has hit, but it can also be prevented before it's even happened. The Bible puts it this way, and it uses the term of self-control. In 1 Corinthians 10:12 through 13, the writer says this. If you think you are standing firm, be careful that you do not fall. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Temptation is not an easy thing, but God has promised that we can overcome it, that we do not have to fall victim to it. It just takes lots of practice and some time. There is no shame in having to seek counseling or participate in help groups. These are part of the things that God has created to help us overcome things like this. From an outside perspective, something that you can do for somebody else is to maybe show them a little bit of tough love. You might be an accountability partner for them, asking them hard questions and seeing what they've been eating or seeing if they've been feeling the urge to cut themselves or something like that. You can help them set up guardrails by taking away maybe pills that they've been taking or taking away and throwing away the razors or the blades that they've been using, and making sure that they're eating even if they don't feel like they're eating, or even if they don't feel like they want to eat. But being proactive or even having an absence of action will either feed or cease the issue of self-harm. If self-harm ceases, people's emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual health will begin to heal. These people will begin to experience freedom. They will mentally not begin to feel the torment that they were feeling, and they won't be experiencing the physical pain anymore. They will begin to experience an increase of confidence. They will be able to express themselves, and they won't be living in this fear anymore. But on the contrary, if self-harm is fed, the issue will continue to grow. These people will continue to live in fear. They'll keep feeling trapped, and they will not be able to see any light at any kind of tunnel. Their inability to cope will continue to be there, and it will only get worse. Those effects will just continue to heighten, and they will just continue to be reminded of the pain that they have been experiencing since the beginning. In conclusion, I've discussed a lot of things: the statistics to self-harm, reasons why people practice self-harm, and solutions to solve this serious issue. It is important to have the ability to recognize these signs and to find some solutions for these people. The Bible tells us to be on guard and stand firm. To be on guard and stand firm for ourselves, but also to be on guard and stand firm for those around us. People can turn away from the temptation of self-harm. They can receive help, and they can overcome this binding habit. So what will you do to help solve this problem?